varsity exams and so forth. And so the 2022 matric cohort are writing their finals, and students often experience high levels of pressure with the end of year finals, self-esteem, self-image playing a key role in this situation. And so such an honor and a privilege for us to be joined by Samara. And thank you so much for your time, Samara. Samara is social emotional learning advisor and academic specialist at Boston Online Home Education, and joining us for more this morning. Samara, when it comes to self-esteem, self-worth, many of us recognize the value of improving our feelings of self-worth. What and how can you give us some insights into how self-esteem impacts students, specifically during these stressful exam times?
Great. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I would love to give some insight into that. I think having healthy self-esteem can definitely motivate students to reach their goals. So if I would speak to the students, knowing that you can accomplish, what you set your mind to. And it influences your mental well-being overall, your overall quality of life, actually. So, and low self-esteem, on the other hand, can make you question your ability to handle, certain situations, such as, the workload that you have and pressure around studying and exams. Because exam time is often a very difficult and stressful experience for many students. I mean, look at if you remember how we felt when we had to write exams, even in university. So low self-esteem may cause students to feel, that they don't have sufficient skills and ability to get that workload, which adds to their feelings of pressure and anxiety. So this creates just a vicious cycle, leading to behaviors like procrastination or feelings of hopelessness, which further, perpetuate the likelihood that they won't study sufficiently or even get through the workload.
That's so true. And when it comes to self-esteem, Samara, we kind of feel that it's part of our genetics, like it's part of our makeup as to who we are. But maybe just talk to us. I mean, is that a way where we can change things?
That is a great question. Sometimes, like you said, we feel like, maybe we're not born confident. And you know what, that's just who I am. But, it's not true. And that's the same for self-esteem and self-image. Self-esteem or self-image is not fixed, thank goodness. So actions can actually be taken to change our perception of ourselves. So building self-esteem, it helps to deal with exam challenges and overcome the inevitable setbacks along the way. There's so many setbacks that come, to bite us. So one of the proven effective ways of dealing with this is actually by developing competencies facilitated by what we call social emotional learning. And this is actually an educational process which teaches students emotional intelligence. That is so, so important. And I think it's not just important for students, it's important for us as adults, for any stage in our lives. So this helps students to navigate the stressful period by building self-esteem, which in turn, helps to overcome, self-doubt about your abilities, helps you to manage anxiety, develop resilience. It motivates you and create successful plans for achieving their study goals and performing well in exams. Yeah.
It's you're hitting the nail on the head for all of us, Samara. Thanks for that. But give us some practical tips, if you don't mind, for parents that are listening, for students that are listening, and they need that help. What can we do practically?
Yeah, if I can just give an example, like for instance, at Boston Online Home Education, we have actually incorporated social emotional learning in our academics. And it's so important for us that we have a sole course on social emotional learning for, students and the public as well, because we found it so important. But there are some key ways of improving your self-esteem. And I would say, number one, start by having self-compassion. Be nice to yourself. I mean, we are all human. We've all gone through things in our life and we are going through them. So it really boils down to, how do you handle that? How do you handle the negativity or the pain in your life? How do you handle that? And how do you separate those emotions from your studies, which is a good thing. So nobody has perfect self-esteem, and it is a work in progress, sorry, and that is what life is about. And another one would be overcoming self-doubt. So it's so important. Human beings are hardwired with a negativity bias. So we are predisposed to notice the bad, unfortunately, rather than what the good things that happen to ourselves. So I would say notice your negative thoughts and how you speak about yourself, because what you say is so much power. Challenge those negative thoughts. Speak to yourself as though you were speaking to a dear friend or a family member who was in this situation. Because sometimes we like to give advice, hey, but then we need to take our own advice as well sometimes.
True
So
story.
use positive, supportive self-talk and replace thoughts like, I'll never get through this, with, I will do the best I can.
That is so on point there, Samara. Can you give students some tips about what they can do to achieve an exam success?
Yeah, definitely. You know what? Thinking must be accompanied by action. We have to put these thoughts in action. We can talk about this for, hours on end, but we need to act. And self-esteem is built by demonstrating real ability and achievements in areas of our lives that actually matter to us. So when it comes to building self-esteem in relation to your studies, start off with small steps. Decide on a section of work. I'm getting practical. Decide on a section of work that you want to cover. Set goals and break them down into actionable steps. Give yourself incentives. I'm going to do this bit of work now, then I can watch my favorite episode of my favorite series, or maybe I'm going to bake something, whatever it might be that you love. So set goals and break them down, like I said, into these actionable steps, and focus just on one step at a time. Support this by, visually, by visualizing yourself taking these necessary actions. And these steps will in turn build up your confidence, in creating a foundation to achieving exam success. So all these factors actually contribute to building self-esteem to positively impact academic performance going forward.
Sure, that is brilliant. Samara, thank you so much for your time this morning. And I liked what you ended off there, that whole thing of visualization, sitting and taking yourself through the process and affirming, you know what, I am going to do well. I've studied well. I'm going to be okay. That is so, so important. Samara, that's where we're going to have to leave it for this morning, but we do say a big thank you to you and to the amazing people at Boston Online Home Education for giving us some practical tips this morning dealing with exam stress. And if you've joined the conversation late and you're like, oh man, I missed the good stuff, don't worry. We have got it on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, so you can go check it out there, the video and the conversation with Samara, social emotional learning advisor and academic specialist from Boston Home Education.